And now, from approximately coast to coast, it's the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show. Well, hello, Bob, and hello, Ray.
Hi, Webley Webster, ladies and gentlemen, who's in charge of our book department, our literary expert. And we haven't seen you for a long time. You're here along with some
I'm
of the
here with
members.
everybody. Mary Magoon is outside. She wants to come in and say hello a little bit later.
I think we should just say a quick hello to Claude and Clyde, the McBeebe twins. They're here.
That's always a joy to talk to you, Bob and Ray. How's this public radio series going, anyway?
Well, we don't know yet.
Is it public
or what? Yes.
What's that mean?
Public radio. Well, it just means that it is on public radio stations and that it's supported by generous funding organizations.
Oh, that's swell. Do you mind if we sit down here in the first couple of rows, stretch out and watch the show and maybe doze for a little bit?
No.
No, go right ahead.
No, join the rest. There's a lot of them dozing, and just make yourself at home. We'll get right to the first feature.
Say, here's a question worth thinking about from the makers of Einbinder flypaper. Friends, are you ever tempted to buy low-quality flypaper made in Hong Kong or Taiwan just because it's marked a few pennies lower on your dealer's shelf? If so, then you should start thinking in terms of real cost. And when you're buying flypaper, real cost is the money you spend prorated for each fly caught, entangled, or destroyed.
When you buy low-quality imported flypaper that dries out and becomes unappealing after a few hours, you're probably paying 40 to 50 cents for each fly destroyed. But with Einbinder's Longwear Stickum, a net cost of a penny a fly, or even less, is not uncommon. So don't be fooled. A higher price is sometimes your best buy in the long run. And your best buy in flypaper is genuine Einbinder, the brand you've gradually grown to trust over the course of 3 generations.
Now, once again, it's time to pick up some valuable hints for you home handymen as we pay another of our regular visits to the basement workshop of Fred Falvey, the do-it-yourselfer. Hey, say, Fred, I noticed on the way in that you built a new sidewalk out to the middle of your front yard since the last time I was here.
That's right, Ray. One of the neighbors had some wet cement left over from a project of his own. He gave it to me knowing I can always find some use for material like that.
And you decided to build a little concrete path partway across the yard there, eh?
I had to think of something quickly that could be built with simple tools before the cement hardened. So I put in that walkway over to the bird bath. Now you can stroll across there on rainy days without getting your shoes all muddy.
And so it's become just another example of better living by doing it yourself. One question, Fred. Where's the bird bath you mentioned at the end of the walk? I don't see one there.
No, I was planning to use some simple tools to make one with part of the cement, but it hardened and became useless by the time I got around to the job, so I'm just using the path to walk part way across the yard and then come back again. Makes a nice little stroll after dinner on warm evenings.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned, there's no danger of getting your shoes muddy when it's raining either.
That's right.
And so your handiness with tools is paid off again. And I know our beloved friends of the radio audience are anxious to hear about the do-it-yourself project you plan to describe this week.
This week, I've chosen a do-it-yourself project for your radio audience I think is a real money saver. As you know, the price of men's shoes has gone up a great deal recently, but very few handymen realize how easy it is to make their own right in the basement workshop.
Well, I think it would take more than just inexpensive equipment and a few simple tools to make anything as complicated as a pair of shoes, Fred.
Well, the thing that surprises handymen is the fact that it only takes inexpensive equipment and a few simple tools to make a pair of shoes right.
Well, I know it surprises me.
I thought it would. Right here on the workbench, you can see a pair that I've almost completed. Of course, I began by standing on a piece of paper in my bare feet and tracing around them with an ordinary household pencil. That's to get the exact shoe size.
I see. And just any ordinary pencil is good enough for that?
Should be one with an eraser in case you make a mistake. Anything else is fine, except an indelible laundry marker. That can leave smudges on your feet that won't wash off.
Well, that's a valuable tip I'm sure our fond listeners will want to remember. Then what do you do after you have the tracing, Fred?
Well, you start by making the sole of the shoe, and for that I found that ordinary 2-ply kitchen linoleum is the best material. Small scrap pieces are quite inexpensive, and they can be shaped to the foot size with a regular number 6 household linoleum cutter.
And then I suppose you can shape smaller pieces of linoleum for the heel of the shoe.
No, you can't do that. You see, it doesn't provide enough traction. I've found that small chunks cut out of the spare tire from your car make good shoe heels, assuming the tire has plenty of tread left on it, and then I prefer to glue the rubber to the linoleum. That avoids the danger of having nails come through and punch holes in the bottom of your feet.
Well, I'm sure that would make wearing the shoes quite painful. Now, what about the top part? Now, this pair you're working on looks kind of furry.
Well, that's the result of another money-saving idea, Ray. Buying leather that's already been scraped and tanned is quite expensive, as you can imagine, so I just went over to the slaughterhouse. It's right here in the neighborhood. And I picked up a couple of square yards of untreated cowhide for very little.
Oh, that's not fur on there. It's just like cow fuzz.
Hair is what I believe they call it. And I've just stretched it loosely across the top of the linoleum here and then glued the ends down. Next, I'm going to slit it up the middle and poke holes for the shoelaces using an ordinary household ice pick.
Wait. And then I suppose the laces can be tightened or let loose. I mean, to suit your individual comfort.
That's right. You can't trace over the top of your foot with a pencil to get an exact fit, but the lacing takes care of that.
Well, this is truly one of the most fascinating projects you've undertaken for the benefit of our audience for a long time. It sounds as if the shoes cost you next to nothing,
Well,
too.
that's true. The linoleum scraps were 50 cents, and the cowhide was $1.50. So really, my only major expense was $72 for a new spare tire after I cut up the old one to make shoe heels.
Well, of course, you'd have needed a new tire eventually anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So, what we've witnessed here is truly another example of better living by doing it yourself. Direct from the basement workshop of Fred Falvey, the do-it-yourselfer.
And now another chapter in the endless story of intrigue as it unfolds among the socially prominent families of Gary Summit. There in stately splendor, far removed from the squalid village below, they fight their petty battles over power and money. As this week's action begins, wealthy Agatha Murchfield is changing the chloroform on her butterfly collection in the trophy room. Suddenly, the door opens and her trusted attorney, Bowden Pardue, enters. Agatha turns and speaks.
Bowden, you really should buy a new necktie. That one you're wearing has a terrible gravy stain on it.
Well, this isn't gravy on my necktie, Agatha. It's the picture of a shapely young woman in a bathing suit. Perhaps you can't see it clearly because you have on your reading glasses.
I suppose that could be it. I always wear this pair when I work on my butterfly collection. And I've been meaning to ask the eye doctor why they're called reading glasses when there's nothing to read on a butterfly. Perhaps you could check that out for me, Bowden.
Well, that's not really a legal matter, Agatha. Is there anything else you called me over here to discuss?
Yes, there is. I'm afraid that my spineless son Rodney has met with foul play. I haven't seen him in almost a week.
Well, I wouldn't be alarmed. As you know, Rodney's fiancée, Pamela, has been trapped in deep snow near the top of Old Baldy ever since she was thrown from her horse 2 months ago. Maybe Rodney just went up there to enjoy a few days of skiing with her.
No, I'm afraid it's not that simple, Bowden. Look at this crudely printed note that came in the morning mail.
Well, let me see. We are holding your son Rodney in a place where he can never be found. If you want to see him alive, withdraw $9,800,000 from the bank and wait further instructions. Don't call the police. Above all, don't tell your lawyer, Bowden Pardue, or we'll wring his scrawny neck. Agatha, are you sure it was wise to show me this note?
Well, of course. what are friends for? Look, I'm just all shaken up, thinking of poor Rodney being held by merciless kidnappers. I wonder what he must be going through at this very moment.
Hell, that 9 of diamonds gives me gin again, Lefty. Shuffle the cards and deal them up.
My mind's not on the game, Rodney. Let me call your mother and tell her where to leave the ransom money. If she ever gets wise to this phony kidnapping you've concocted, we'll both be in big trouble.
Oh, stop whimpering, Lefty. You're being paid very handsomely for the risk you're taking.
Gee, I don't know about that. $150 out of $9 million doesn't strike me as a very handsome payment. I ought to get at least $200.
No chance, Lefty. I need that ransom to replace the cash I embezzled from the family business. My brother Caldwell may soon discover it's gone.
Well, you might consider a couple of things before you turn me down. First of all, you're chained to that chair to make this look like a real kidnapping. And second, I'm pointing a loaded gun at you, just like a real kidnapper would. So maybe Caldwell isn't really your biggest danger, especially if he never has the books audited. Think about it, fella.
I've just finished my audit of the firm's books, Caldwell, and I'm afraid I've found some serious irregularities.
Okay, so I didn't really spend $45 to have a business lunch with Prince Charles. That gorgeous redhead in the mailroom likes nice restaurants too, you know.
I'm not concerned with your minor indiscretions, Caldwell. Look at this check stub filled out by your brother Rodney. It's for 12 boxes of paper clips. He claims they cost $9,800,000. Now, doesn't that make you suspicious?
Only for one reason, Mr. Waternoose.
And what is that?
At this very moment, Rodney is supposedly being held by kidnappers. And by a strange coincidence, the ransom they're demanding is exactly $9,800,000.
Will Agatha pay ransom money out of her company's treasury just so Rodney can secretly put it back into the same treasury? Can Lefty's greed to obtain something he wishes he had cause him to do something he'll wish he hadn't? And what about the mysterious redhead in the mailroom? Perhaps we'll learn more next time when we hear the bank teller say,
I can't let you withdraw almost $10 million from the company account, Miss Agatha. It only has a current balance of $71.16.
That's next week when we resume our endless story of intrigue on Garish Summit. Say, here's good news for you homemakers. You're well aware, I'm sure, that extra shiny steel ingots have been in short supply this season at your Monongahela Metal Foundry showroom. But now we're happy to say that supply has nearly caught up with the tremendous demand.
You may still encounter a limit of 3 ingots to the customer in some scattered areas. But in most places, your Monongahela agent will be happy to sell you as many as you need to replace those old worn-out ingots you've been forced to use during the shortage. So stock up today while there's a good selection.
And now, the makers of Tingle, the wintergreen-flavored dental floss, invite you to join us for the adventures of Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
Hello there. I'm Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy. The story of foreign intrigue, which we have chosen to dramatize today, is one of great importance to our country. It all took place in a honky-tonk restaurant along the waterfront of Algiers. I was sent there to make contact with a native agent who had the information we needed. I waited for 3 days with no results. Then on the evening of the 3rd day, he came in and made his way to my table.
Good evening, monsieur. I am Abdul, the camel trader.
Good evening. I'm Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
Yes, I have been watching you ever since you landed in Algiers. You came, I believe, aboard the USS Wilbert Stickney. It is a very large ship.
80,000 tons displacement. One of the largest we have here in the Mediterranean.
It seems to be well fortified, too.
33 big guns aboard her altogether, and the amazing thing about her is that she cruises at 19 knots.
I hope you won't mind if I take a few notes about these things while we're chatting. see, 80,000 tons displacement, 33 big guns, 19 knots.
That's right. She has an overall length of 423 feet. The captain told me personally that the ship will go to the defense of the Suez Canal in the event of a major war.
423 feet, Suez Canal in case of war.
Would you care for part of my bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich? I can't eat the whole thing.
No, I believe not, thank you. I heard a report down on the waterfront the other day that the Wilbert Stickney is carrying aircraft parts to Afghanistan.
Oh, more than just parts. 48 complete jet engines. I have the serial numbers of them right here if you care to jot them down.
Ah, merci. You are most kind, sir.
I guess you folks don't see a ship as big as the Wilbert Stickney down this way very often.
No.
We'll have 12 more of them in this area within the next few weeks.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I heard in the Pentagon just before I left Washington that we're going to enlarge our Mediterranean fleet. Look, here's a list of the ships we're sending over.
Ah, thank you very much.
Oh, gee, I shouldn't be babbling on this way. I'm probably boring you.
No, not at all, monsieur. Incidentally, do you have any figures on American aircraft strength in this area?
Well, I think I've got all that stuff over at the hotel. I'd be glad to get it for you.
It'll be most appreciated.
By the way, do you have the information for me that my government needs so desperately?
No, monsieur, I wasn't able to get it.
Well, that's all right. We'll be able to patch along without it somehow. I'll send back a report to Washington tonight saying, case closed successfully by Elma W. Litzinger, spy.
Well, I guess, again, the time has flown by, and we've got to call a halt to this session of the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show.
But not before we give you a few bits of vital information concerning it. Our program was produced for the Radio Foundation by Larry Josephson. You know him, he likes his remoulade sauce without capers.
And Marjorie Van Halderen was associate producer, who's grateful to TV for making us all a little more self-conscious about Ring Around the Collar.
The fine music you heard all came from the nimble 12 fingers of Mr. Paul Taubman.
Sound effects were handled by the Paderewski of the Peach Baskets, Al Schaefer.
Our technical director was Malcolm Addy.
Our engineers were Mike Moran and Joe Lopes.
And our production assistant was Tony Fitzpatrick.
Funding in part from the National Endowment for the Arts
And the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
through NPR's Satellite Program Development Fund.
And now this is Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumbs.
For a free picture of Bob and Ray, send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York, 10116. That's Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York, 10116. This program was independently produced by the Radio Foundation.